What is up, Oddity Acres family? Welcome to another episode. We have a very fun one today, especially for you Civil War buffs. A lot of people know that the spooky history around Civil War battlegrounds, Civil War cemeteries, things like that. I mean, everybody's heard of Gettysburg, no doubt, obviously with the ghosts and the paranormal activity that surrounds there. Well, we actually have a very special location in Northeast Ohio called Johnson's Island, and it was home to a Confederate POW camp during the Civil War, and today it's home to a very mysterious Confederate cemetery. So I am taking you along for a journey, and we're going to find out if all these little reports of hauntings were real or just lost in history. I'll see you there. So a little bit of background on the island. So the island was originally named Bull's Island, and it was owned by a man named Ephroditus Bull. I believe that's how he pronounced his name. I Googled it like 6 times. Anyways, him and the family came from Connecticut and settled on the Marblehead Peninsula in 1809. However, in 1812, Bull and his family ended up retreating to Cleveland, Ohio due to Native American attacks. And in autumn of 1812, Bull died of an unknown disease. Now, the family would later return and retain ownership of the island until 1852. In 1852, Leonard B. Johnson, very much easier to pronounce than Ephroditus, Leonard B. Johnson bought the island from the Bull family and cleared it for farming and agricultural needs. Now, a short 9 years after that, if you know your history, a very big important event happened in the United States, the Civil War. So in April of 1861, the Civil War started, and that fall, the United States Army purchased 40 acres from Johnson and developed a prisoner of war camp for Confederate soldiers. Now, the camp would remain in use from April of 1862 until the Civil War's end of September 1865. Now, in the almost 40-month span of the prison's history, almost 10,000 Confederate soldiers were administered into the prison, most being officers. Among the others were some private citizens, some people that were involved in guerrilla warfare, and a handful of people that they thought were disloyal to the Union. Now, it said that the condition of the camp wasn't ideal, but it wasn't horrible either until the winter came. If you spent any time in Northeast Ohio, if you've been on Lake Erie, if you've seen Cleveland in the wintertime, the weather is frigid, it's cold, it's unbearable. And it's set for some horrible living conditions for these men. Now, as interesting as all of that is, this is not a Civil War channel. This is Oddity Acres, so there's obviously got to have to be a spooky aspect to it. On Johnson Island, it is home to a Confederate cemetery that has some very spooky stories revolving around it. We are on our way, and we're about to do a little investigation ourselves. We'll see you there. All right, so I made it to Johnson Island. We are at the causeway right now. There's a little bit of a toll booth here where you pay $2 to get across. It's not that bad. That'll allow you to cross the causeway. So we are at the end of the road here, so we will see you when we get across the causeway. So as you can see, there's actually still some residential houses on this island, so it is home to a lot of people. It's a smaller island, but it is a beautiful way to kind of seclude yourself from the Lake Erie shores, which is, I grew up here and I've never been here before, so this is very, very cool to kind of see it for the first time. We are just across the causeway. We're actually going to head towards the cemetery. That's the only part of the island that's open to the public, so that's kind of where we're headed right now, and that's kind of basically where the culmination of all these stories of the Civil War and everything has taken place, so that's kind of where we want to be anyway, so I will see you when we get there. We're here. This is an incredibly quiet place right now. No tourists. It's not busy. It's incredible though. So there's 206 marked graves here, but the actual amount of people that are buried here is unknown due to wooden grave sites and posts that were put up that deteriorated over the years. So there are so many stories of paranormal activity revolving around this cemetery, and one of which surrounds the centerpiece, which is a statue of a Confederate soldier that's watching over the bay. So the statue's facing north, overlooking the bay, which is a sign of retreat. The legend says sometimes at night, the statue will move back and forth, left and right, and even turn around. Now, among the other stories in the cemetery, people have reported seeing soldiers walking amongst the tombstones, especially in the evening, as well as hearing disembodied voices. So I know those stories are very traditional as far as a normal haunting or ghost stories go, and you're going to hear that about any cemetery, to be honest with you. I mean, people's minds go and they explore, and they like to make up stories to fit their narrative. But one of my favorite things that I've heard about this place that kind of gives me chills is that back in the day they hired some immigrant workers from Italy, and they could not speak English. There was a large language barrier. And one of the days when they were out here working, the employees came out and they found the immigrants whistling Dixie. And there's obviously no reason why they would know that, being that was a Confederate Civil War anthem for themselves, and there's no reason why any sort of immigrant worker coming from Italy, especially just on a sort of work on these quarries, would know that. These graves are absolutely beautiful. They're kind of, marked in rows like Arlington would be. Obviously on a much smaller scale, but, this is one of Ohio's only Confederate cemeteries. Obviously, we are about as far north as you can get. Actually, we are as far north as you can get because Canada's right there. So we are as far north as you can get. But it's absolutely beautiful that they did this to honor those soldiers. Every soldier in the Civil War was an American life. Obviously there was disagreements on both sides, but you look at where we are today. I mean, these are American soldiers, regardless if they were Confederate or Union, and they deserve to be honored, and that's why this is a really beautiful area. Now, this cemetery is about a half a mile from where the prison camp used to be, and they said that it was easy digging facing the top half of this, but once you got down about 4 feet, it was all bedrock due to where we are and located on the lake, so that prevented people from actually burying these soldiers 6 feet down. Now, since the end of the war, about 29 families came in and removed some bodies to bring them back home, but the rest of these people were here that when they died at the prison. I kind of filmed all that I was intending to film here today, but I just haven't been able to leave yet. I think it's just so incredibly beautiful. It's just the way that these men and women are honored in this beautiful cemetery, and I think it's incredible to be here. Very cool. You guys, obviously I say this every time whenever I go somewhere cool, but if you guys are in the area, if you live in the area, please make sure you stop by here. It is absolutely incredible, and it's definitely worth the trip.